Tonight's story comes from Gwich'in oral history that was recorded with elders through community research, then reviewed and expanded with community input before it was published. It was not written as entertainment, it was documented so the knowledge would not be lost. The name in the story is Dinichok. He is remembered as a medicine man and a great traveler, someone known not for speeches but for arriving when arriving should not have been possible. The story keeps his method clear because it wants you to understand that this was not panic or luck. It was a way of moving through the world when time mattered. It begins at night with a dream that lands with weight. Dinichok sees his mother and his younger brothers far away at another camp, and the danger is not vague. The dream carries urgency like an alarm, showing him that something is about to happen and that waiting will be the same as losing them. No runner appears, no message is delivered. The dream is the message. He wakes and asks for one thing: dried moose or caribou sinew. In the telling, the people around him understand what that request means and do not slow him down with questions. He goes straight to the fire and holds the sinew over heat until it curls and tightens. Then the story makes its claim. As the sinew tightens, the land tightens too. Distance collapses. The long stretch between camps compresses. Stops along the trail pull closer together, and what should have taken days becomes something that can be crossed while there is still time to change the outcome. He arrives at the camp before the danger becomes final. He does not wander. He goes straight to where his mother is being held and finds her crying and praying. The way people pray when they have no leverage left. She looks up and sees him standing there, and the story keeps that moment plain and human. No dramatic entrance, no explanation, just the shock of him being there. He asks where the boys are, and she tells him what the dream already showed him. A crowd is gathering for a game, a blanket toss, and the boys are in danger there. The plan is to make it look like play while it becomes something else. So Dinichok goes to the game before the trap can close. He steps into the crowd and takes the place his brothers were meant to take, jumping onto the blanket himself, still on. The story treats that as a turning point because the whole point of the plan is to control over a victim, and he steals that control in front of everyone. The game breaks apart, the crowd scatters, the threat collapses in the open, and his brothers are alive. The story does not end with that moment. It shows what it means to end a threat and then turn back toward survival. His family had been kept without food while others had plenty. So he takes meat for them. He tells his mother and brothers to leave first and follow the track he made coming in, to walk home on his trail and not wait. Then he uses the travel medicine again, and the land tightens once more. In the telling, he catches them on the trail, and they are home the same night, safe and alive, with the world returned to its normal shape. Later, the story widens into a second arc. Another dream arrives, but this time the warning is not about his own blood. It is about people far away who are starving. With hunger spreading and time running out, the same pattern repeats. The dream is treated as responsibility, not a private experience. Dinichok travels out, lays down a way through, and tells the starving family to follow his trail back to his camp where there is food and shelter. He returns ahead of them and tells his people to prepare because others are coming. They eventually arrive, but people are weak. But then they recover. They eat until they have strength again. They survive the season because someone treated a dream like real information and acted in a practical way. When the work is done, the sinew cools, loosens, and distance becomes distance again. The land returns to normal, but the outcome stays measured in the only way that matters in these stories. People made it home, people lived, people ate, and that is why the story opens with tonight's episode. Because Joe Foxstreamer works in that same territory where dreams and guidance are not random occurrences. They are something you learn to handle with care and discernment and with responsibility. The question is not whether dreams are interesting. The question is what a responsible person does when something arrives with urgency and what it takes to stay grounded when the unseen starts pressing into the real world with consequences. So, Joe, starting right now, where the story starts, when guidance comes through dreams, what tells you it is a signal? What tells you to wait? And what tells you to let it go? So, Joe, thank you for stepping in. Can you answer that question? And if there's anything that you could add to that story, please do.
So while you're talking and sharing that story, lots of things. It's like my granddad is right here. It's like to me the spirit world, the ancestors, all these things are real. It's like the dream time and this time there's an energy that I don't know, it's like a TV screen within your mind. There's a an awareness that there's something that's conscious that is watching and it gives you answers, it guides and it shows you. And my granddad taught me as a little boy, like what you were saying about Dinichuk is like he would ask me to look at things. He would have me sit and look at things to see what was around a person because in our energetic fields, it's like we are TVs and every person has a TV signal. So they could be on channel 55. And if you're aware that you can drop your energy into that station where they are and you can flick through different parts of their life or see different things that are maybe blocking or interfering or the knowledge or something they need to help them to move forwards and feel safe. So my granddad, when I was a little boy, would teach me to see things. He would sit there and it was like he would open his mind and he would sort of invite me in. Sometimes he would talk about visions and things in the future, or he would talk into the past. And it was like he would take me into these places like Dinichuk was able to do this and he was able to go to these places. And my granddad had this awareness and he would use the spirits to help them understand what to guide me through and help me how to see. So I wouldn't get scared where, okay, if he can do it, then I can understand how to do that. So when people come to me, first thing I always talk to their ancestors because I don't know who they are, don't know exactly what they're going to need. And so I'll say, well, do I have a permission to go into this space because this person has shown up? And is there specific things I need to look at? And then I start matching their energy. First, I'll start putting them in a safe bubble where they're protected. And then I'll allow the spirits to open them up and show me things. And I think this is where the ability of a lot of people understand empath. It's like I tune into you. If you got a really terrible shoulder, my empathic ability is going to tune in, and all of a sudden, I may start feeling pain in my shoulder, and I'm like, this is not mine. And then I'm like, okay. And now I'll ask the person, do you have arthritis or is there something going on here? And I'm like, okay, they agreed with that. That's what's happening. They haven't told me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sort of go through your energies to see where things are being coming in out for me, your guides or ancestors would like me to work on. Do you want them to help you to allow this to move out and receive the new or whatever it is. So it's like I go in and out of whatever energies, and the person's spirits around them understand all of that. And I'm like, once I tune into that, I try to see where it all goes and what parts of the body, what part. It's like in Chinese medicine when they do the three bodies, like they can
Mhm.
see the physical, they can see the mental, like the energetic, and then they can see the spiritual, and there's a block somewhere in those three energies. And it's sort of like I get guided in there and I sort of see where this energy is, and then I get help with their ancestors or spirits to help remove that. And then once that's done, I ask for the new to come in to replace the old so they receive this new energetic change, which people call healing and things. So they know everything, and I never know. I'm always really, really amazed when I go into somebody's energy because sometimes I'm like, whoa, this is new. I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I trust whoever's around is going to have the answer. So when this is over, the person has received some big transformation. So for me, it's energy is always flowing, and this is what my granddad taught me to do. Like I used to ask him how he could see in the future, and he would always look at my future and he would say, this is going to go on. You will see this. He used to always say, mark my word. Whenever he said that, I had to remember what he was telling me. And sometimes days later, he'd say, remember when I told you? And I had to say it back to him verbatim. And then he knew that, so I would go along, and then all of a sudden, what he told me would play itself out in front of me. And I'm like, okay, he told me this. And so when I would go home, I'd say, you told me this at this time. This is what you said. And it all played out. So it made me very intrigued because basically, don't matter how old we get in our bodies, we're innocent children. We're curious. We want to learn and grow. And my granddad is always like, learn anything, like study, read, search, try to. So when I was a little boy, I was taken from my granddad and put in residential school. And in there, they told me because I was a native, that I was a heathen, no matter what I did, they would
Hmm.
send me to hell and burn me, is what the preacher said in this big giant prison where they put kids. And I'm like, that doesn't sound correct. Like, why does God like the Orientals? Why does God like the Chinese? Why do they all have this belief that there's something really good? But because I was born native, no matter what I learned or did, I'd be sent somewhere just to burn. And I'm like, as a little child, I'm like, there's something weird about this. And my granddad taught me how to see so I could see things around people. And I could see this minister is lying and saying things, trying to traumatize me, scare me, and other things. So it angered me that when I ran away from the residential school, I remembered what my granddad said. He says, read, learn, study. So I spent my life searching answers to understand, like, what it is the Jews know, or what do Buddhists know, or why do people meditate, or why do we go in and out of these different energetic fields? Like, what invites us in and what brings us out? And I explored lots and lots of things trying to understand that, plus to understand myself and my granddad, and how there's something really, really big that we are a part of, but we're all trying to figure out how to open those different doors of reality and helping somebody else realize they can expand that awareness and become that too.
Wow. So, can you tell me a little bit more about your granddad?
Um, he was a Gwich'in Indian, and from what I understand, through residential school, he went through 3 years of school. And then when he went back to his community, he spent a lot of time up in the mountains, like from whatever he experienced in the residential school, where he was sent to Hay River. And then from there, he was taken back to our community. And he went up into the mountains. And while he was up there, he was like I guess doing a lot of healing, doing a lot of different things. Um, from my memories and things that where I go and visit and recall things of what he taught me and stuff was like people would come and visit sometimes to the house and he'd say, you go and play outside now. And so I go out and play, and later I come back in curious to why somebody had come along, and he's like, they came for help, and so I'm gonna go off, and he would go off into the forest, and he'd spend the whole day there, and he would ask the plants and the earth and things like, how can he help this person? And he would do his little rituals there. Then he'd come home sometimes with a little bundle of different kinds of things mixed together for medicine. And he like, you don't touch that. It's this person's gonna need it. And when they come, I'll give this to them so they can do what they're supposed to with it. So he would allow the spirits to guide and teach him things. And he always believed in the creator. He always believed that everything will come no matter what. He was always in this real peaceful way of being, and it's just like whatever we need, it will always come through. So he would always teach me. He would always be looking at things. When I was in residential school and I ran away, I was like, I would send him messages. And when he got came and got me from the streets to take me back home, I was sort of angry and mad about that because I'm like, I went through a lot of hardships. And when I got home, he's like, you had to go through that. He says, in the future, it's going to help you. So when you really understand, you can help a lot of people. So he didn't interfere with things. He would see stuff and he'd just tell me stuff and allow for me to go and explore that. And he was very private. He kept very, very quiet. Like a lot of times he'd just sort of be in this meditative state, knowing things were gonna come or go, and he would say stuff, but he kept a lot of things to himself, and I think a lot of the shamans did that. They would sort of know things about the world, but they just sit and wait until it was the time for them to step in and do things. So he would always like there's times where he would say, go in your bedroom. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna go out. And he's like, no, they're coming. Go in your bedroom. So I go in my bedroom and I'd sit there and the energy would start changing. Stuff would start happening. And then all of a sudden, like this TV would turn on in my mind, stuff would go on and time would sort of disappear. And when I would be back in my body, I'm like, oh, and then I would go out, my granddad is sitting there and he'd say, you sit down now and you tell me what it was you saw or what did you learn. And it was like he was looking in my mind to see if I could let him know what these experiences were and if I saw or understood it in the correct way. If it was good, then I can go out. If not, he would say, go back in. And then I would have to sort of go through the experience again. It was like, going into this magical little world when this energy and stuff would come in. And he was there always trying to see how my mind or how I would perceive or if I would get afraid or things. And then he would sort of try to guide me forwards. And one of the things I found with a lot of elders, because he would send me to different elders too. I'd ask him things, and he's like, you go down, you see this old elder, and they will explain it to you. Then when it's finished, you come and you share with me what they taught you. And it was really interesting because all the different elders had different ways of sort of tuning into two things. There was this one old Eskimo woman that I would visit, and she couldn't really speak English, and I didn't understand her language. And when I would go there, she'd go like this and smile and invite me in to her room in the old folks' home, and I go and sit there, and she'd take out this little drum and she'd start tapping and she'd start singing. And I'd be sitting there, and then it's just like there was this explosion. Then all of a sudden, it's like I could understand everything she was saying, like she was talking to me in English, and I'd be sitting there and I'm like, okay, all of a sudden now I know what she's saying. And she would do all kinds of stuff, and I would sit there and it was like I was inside her mind or wherever she was guided to take me, and she would show and tell me things. And then when it was over, she always gave me a cookie or a cup of juice or something. And she'd be really, really happy. And then she'd go, go, go. And then I'd leave her place and I'd go home. And my granddad would be waiting for me. And so he would tune in to see if I understood what was going on and if I was afraid of it. And then we have long discussions about different things. Like I was taken a lot of places, and it's like getting in a car and somebody says, well, let's go to the mall. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the mall. And you're all ready. And then they drive to the post office. Then they go here and they go there. And you're not the one driving. So you're not going straight to the mall. You're going on their journey until you get to the mall. You do whatever in the mall and then you come home. So whenever I would go to these elders, it was like they were the ones who were driving and they were taking me into different realities. And I just had to trust when my granddad sent me there that it would be okay. And whatever I experienced, um, he would try to get me to sit there. If I didn't really understand, then he would sometimes send me to somebody else that may expand it in a different way for me to try to put the puzzle together to try to figure out how it worked. And I think that's where we're all at right now on this planet is we can go into Reiki, we can go into, people want to be ayahuasqueros, people want to be different kinds of shamans and healers. And in the mind, there's millions of little doors. And when you open those doors, there's mysteries hiding behind it. And
Mhm.
all cultures understood this in their shamanisms, in their because when you go back to nomadic tribes who are moving, they follow the seasons, the animals and things. They allow themselves to tune into the universe and they all see things and they know, well, this is a direction we need to move and this is where things are going to be. So they would allow themselves to all tune in. It's like hive mind. Sometimes you could sit in a meditation group and somebody is seeing something, and then all of a sudden, everybody else in the group sees the same thing. And so, whatever that energy is like you all share, like you open your minds to that reality, and you all know the direction to go in. And I think this instinct is getting really, really strong in everybody, and everybody is seeking this. And there's different doors to be opened by different people. And my granddad told me to search out as much as I could. And when I would go into different ceremonies and that things would go on, and I'm like, how did I do this? Like, what's making this open up my reality to this experience is positive, negative, is it good? I know it's an experience and it's happening for a reason. So then I would talk to people about it and try to share that information. And this is where I'm always on a search to try to understand how to open more doors. Because when
Mhm.
I sit with people, if I sit with a person who's Jew, I want to understand his culture. I want to understand his spiritual abilities. I want to understand how he opens up. So when that reality comes in and I'm in his energy, and if I start seeing what he's experiencing, then I'm like, okay, I don't have to feel afraid. I don't have to feel like I don't understand this. I can connect on that level with him and we can explore that or, you know, whatever is coming through, it's being presented in that moment. So I can hold that energy and feel safe in it. And this is what I spent a long time in my life trying to understand how that is. Why, if I close my eyes, and I focus on somebody, I can see what's going on with their lives, or I would tune into my mother and know what's going on in her day. If I phoned her up, she'd tell me, and I'm like, oh, I saw all of that already. I know what is going on. So what makes that happen when my eyes are closed, I'm relaxing and I'm focusing? What is transpiring that's allowing my mind to perceive that even I'm not in that watching her in the physical, I'm seeing it from inside me, and there's like a holographic thing that's going on inside the head. And I think every culture is this vibration is getting stronger, and we all want to understand how to do that. So for me, my granddad was the one that opened that reality and encouraged me to go forwards and search it out.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the actual spiritual tradition that you come from? Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Native American spirituality. Like people usually associate like meditation, for example, just with
Mhm.
Buddhism. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because what you were describing about your grandfather sounds a lot like just meditation.
Mhm. And that's what I discovered with everything. And in native society, we don't say angels, we say ancestors, or the way we look at it is the spirit comes in, it's a grandmother or a grandfather. It's something very ancient, something so loving, and it wants to give you this experience. It wants to make you feel safe, it wants to heal you, it wants to guide you. So it's on your ancestral line. It's something that's just really, really beautiful. And it comes in. So in natives, we talk a lot about grandmothers and grandfathers. And some people say they're orbs. So they're
Mhm.
these colored energies, and they come in from everywhere. And when they come in, the energy gets really, really beautiful and amazing. And if I want to see them as angels, it's going to transpire and it's going to be this glowing being with big wings, if that's the way I perceive it. And the energy transforms into whatever you feel safe. It's not there to scare you or
Mhm.
threaten you. It wants you to feel loved and safe. So with natives, we recognize that as the things that work with us. And then we also connect with the Earth Mother. And the Earth
Mhm.
Mother is a living being that we all
Oh, yeah.
humans live on top of. And she's our mother because without her, we do not have a body. So in all our ceremonies, we recognize the Earth Mother and we communicate with her. She knows what the future is. She knows what needs to go on in my life. She knows all the lifetimes I've came and lived on this planet and what's my future life. So we always talk to her,
Mhm.
and like we know the creator is there that created all things. There's one thing and we call it the creator. I like saying the great mystery because to
Mhm.
me everything is mysterious. It's beyond mysterious. And once you start feeling safe, like when I'm sitting in the sweat lodge, and we do 4 rounds in the sweat lodge. We do the east, we do the south, we do the west, we do the north. And in each direction, there are spirits we invite into the ceremony. And when we're starting the sweat lodge, we always put 5 stones in. We put the first to the creator, and the earth is that grounding, bringing the two together. And then we do the east where the sun comes up. South is the afternoon. West is getting into the evening, and north is the night. And there's energies that we come in the 4 different rounds, and we sing songs. So while I'm in there and I'm drumming and singing, I go into this sort of hypnotic kind of state, and I know the song, and then it's like I'm in this deep meditative state. And you're inside a pitch black dome. It's nice and warm. You're really safe. You're trusting the spirits and everything. And then all of a sudden, I'm out of my body and I'm in a different reality.
Mhm.
And so you get these outer body experiences. And while that's going on, I'm aware of my body. I can feel my body in the sweat lodge. I can feel the heat. all the drumming that's going on and the singing, I could hear everybody, but I'm somewhere in the universe being shown and told things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the round is over, I'm back in my body and I'm like, okay, this round's over. So when we're ready, we'll start the next and the next. And each round is specific to certain things. So once you start doing this, it's like when you like go into the Tibetan Buddhists and the Tibetan Lama is teaching, and he teaches us about one of the deities or one of the beings. And then at the end, he wants us to all focus on a specific thing in his teachings. And then he guides us into a meditation. And he says, focus on this to see what you're going to receive. And so the Lama would uses a little singing bowl to clear out the energy, to bring in a
Mm-hmm.
protection. And then he taps and he guides us all in. And then while we're in there, it's like all of a sudden everything explodes. You're in this meditative state. You start receiving all these answers, all these things, whatever you're meant to experience in that time period, you get everything. It's lots of times different than everybody else's. So for me in the sweat lodge, when the spirits come in, um, they know where I need to go and they know what I need to do. So when I'm in that altered state, then that meditation place and it's like the light turns on and I'm in this other reality. Even though I'm aware of the earth here, I'm transformed into another plane where I'm shown and told and guided and helped in those ways.
So you just described something that a lot of people want to do and are trying to do, attempt to do, but miss a lot of those little details that seem very important. Why do you think that is?
Um, I think a lot of times they don't have the correct teacher or they're searching. When they're searching, they're not here, they're not present. And a lot of people when they come say to me and I'm asked to try to help them in a way, guide them. And if they're not listening, they're seeking, they're listening for a certain word or something. So where that energy is trying to come in to allow them to have this experience, they're like trying to get ahead of it. And they think there's a secret, they think there's something. And an old medicine man told me, he says the biggest journey every human being has is going from here into here and then back here. And he says some people do it for many, many lifetimes before they discover linking this with this because the heart only sees and knows the truth. So if you in meditation go and sit in here, everything opens to you. You receive everything, it closes, and then you take all of that back up here. The mind will distort and try to do things with it. It'll try, well, that's illusion, it's daydreams. Oh, it's a trick. Oh, it's this and that. And they get afraid and then they shut it out and they run off searching somebody else or something else. So this is what I was so amazed when he told me that because one day I realized he gave me the answer and I was like, oh, I gotta go to this Buddhist guy. He's gonna blow this like firecrackers are gonna go off and I'm just gonna be flying around in the universe. And one day I went home and I was sitting, I was like, whoa, it's like there's this energy, these things go on. It's not my imagination. I have all these experiences, but I'm still looking for somebody to either certify me or say it's okay or I understand it correctly. And I found it in just about every place I went to. And I'm like, it is taking here to here and then back here. And then I started finding more peace about it. So wherever I sit, I allow myself to be present in the energy with the teacher and the people.
Right. So earlier you mentioned guides. So I want to ask you to clear that up a little bit. When you refer to guides, you mainly refer to ancestors, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
S- All right. So, what would you say about others with guides who may not refer to their guides as ancestors? I think this is a very important point because many, especially young people who don't have a teacher or are learning on the internet, um, often are labeled as just maybe either making stuff up or role playing. I don't think that's a good way to look at it. I think that there's definitely something else going on, even if they might believe that they're consciously creating something. There's still something going on in the subconscious that they don't really comprehend. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Um, with that, it's like we all have something around us. We all know the creator or God. We all understand something that's deep down inside of us. And we've all had a lot of different lifetimes. We reincarnate. And when I was a Tibetan, and however long I was there, I learned and I mastered things. So I have different guides from that lifetime. When I was
Mm-hmm.
Chinese, I have different guides, and there's a lot of different things. And as a child, when I was in a really, really dangerous, say something really, really bad was going to go on, a guide would appear to me and it'd say, well, do this, do this, do this. And it would sort of help me to move through things. And I realized there's things around me that want to help me out of bad situations. So when these voices and things would come in, I'm like, okay, this is real. I need to pay attention to this, and it's here for a reason. So whatever this voice is, whatever this intuition is, whatever this thing is, if I listen to it, something will bring me out of a bad situation. And um people, like I say, a lot of people, they get angry at Christianity because, they're taught to believe in angels and believe in things. And when they pray in that, these things don't come in. There's like an invisible wall,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to believe in it, but a lot of other people say, "Oh, I've had this experience, that experience," and they know there's something there, but they don't know what to actually relate to. And this is where I think when Buddha said, "There's 1,000 paths to nirvana," he
Mm-hmm.
says, "Try at least 500, and if it doesn't work, then try 501." So for me, it was like I went into a lot of different things. Like I pushed the native away and I went into a lot of cultural things trying to discover this. And when I'm in these different places, these different spirits would come in and they would show and teach me things. And so I think when people stop pushing to one side because we want to prove something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned in ceremonies, there's a lot of things I can't prove, but I'm shown and I can share that with you. And maybe me and you both saw the same thing, and we're telling everybody, they're like, oh, no, 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 what you guys are saying, that's not real. And we're both in agreement that this is what we saw, and we're telling everybody. A month later down the road, they come to us and it's like, how did you guys know that? Like, we don't know, we were just shown. And some people perceive like images, like I say, when these spirits come in to guide you, it's like what you perceive them to be, they will transform into that. They will work with you in that energy because that's what's making you feel safe and that's
Mm-hmm.
what they're holding. So with guides, that's where I'm like, we need to open a certain door and
Mm-hmm.
then everything comes in. Like I told Cindy for years because she grew up as Mormon and she believed what the Mormons taught her. She came into my life and I started telling her about sweat lodges where spirits come in. I told her about UEPs. I told her about night lodges where all these spirits are real and they come in and do something. And she's like, yeah, 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 yeah. So finally I came across where there was a Sioux medicine man holding a UEP. And I says, we're going to that. She says, okay. So we go to this ceremony. I've already told her about this. And so we go through the ceremony and it finishes about 4 or 5 in the morning. It's, getting on into the morning. And we get in the car and it's a 2 hour drive home. And she's like, spirit is real. I says, yeah, I've been telling you that all along. And she says, I experienced it. She says, They came in and I had a friend who was a psychologist. She came to the ceremony, and in the dark, she doesn't trust anything. So when we went into the place, she went into a corner so she could push herself against a corner. She didn't want anybody behind her. And so while we're in this ceremony and she's pushing herself back so nothing can get behind, when it was over, she came to me. She's like, "How?" And I'm like, "How what?" She says there was hands behind me, and I know this is a solid wall. There is absolutely nothing. And she says there's hands patting me, and she said there was like eagle wings behind me, like a eagle was flying and flapping his wings. And she says, "But I'm telling you, this wall, there's nothing can get me behind me. I was pushed so hard into that." And she says all these different experiences happened, and when you're ready, these guides and spirits come in. So I always tell people, invite them. When you wake up every day, ask them to come in and make you feel safe so your third eye can open, so you can experience and understand who they are. And they won't come in because your home is your sacred place and they need permission to come on
Mhm.
in. It's like all cultures, like this is where I like the Orientals, they always invite in their ancestors. They have pictures and altars and they invite them into the day every day. And then they experience these things because they're giving permission. But anybody that's afraid, it's like there's this big brick wall until that fear goes down. Then these spirits come in and then they start realizing this is real.
So, what's your tradition's take on evil spirits?
We know there is a negative force, a negative energy. I don't think we really have a word for evil.
Mm,
From what my granddad taught me, there is something there, and he helped me to see and understand that as a child. There things that are not positive. Like I don't like saying evil. I like saying tricksters. I like trying to say there is something there that's either going to scare you or try to fool you, or it wants to make you believe it can harm you. And so trying to understand that energy is there and it's real. Like I talked to Cindy about this a lot of times, and me and her go a lot of places to help people. Like sometimes people is like, there's real bad things going on in my house. Can you come over and see if you can help us with that? So I always try to make Cindy aware that she needs to be really safe and that certain things can go on, but we're inviting the light. We're inviting these spirits, people's spirits and things to come in to look at everything. They have the solution and knowledge how to clean that out or remove it.
mhm.
And so we do know there is a force that is there that is not positive. I don't try to reinforce it because too many people, when you use the word evil,
Yeah.
man, it's done. People want to run and everything. But if you can look at it a different way, then you're a little more safer of seeing and going, okay, that's there. But there's this energy that will remove you and keep you out. You're not welcome in my space.
I think the reason why I like to, or I prefer to maybe use that term is because there's so many individuals or people because of Christianity that label anything non Abrahamic as evil in nature. But in reality, these type of spirits basically can't help themselves
Hmm.
because it's within their nature to do harm. So
Hmm.
there's a very clear difference between the two. Tricksters, I don't really like to personally use for that reason because um, that would suggest that they have consciousness to do otherwise. When perhaps evil is not the right term, because that would suggest that they kind of have a choice, but they don't really seem to have to. You can't negotiate with them. They could
Hmm.
trick you and lie, but they're always going to go back on whatever they say and try to do harm. So that's just my kind of experience on that. So it's
And
an
that is
interest.
actually very true what you said. And this is where you got to find in the person's psychology what is the correct word. So I try to find that right word where they actually feel safe, because what you're
Mm,
saying, and these beings are on a lower awareness, and when you use evil, a lot of people empower that, and then it disempowers them, and it's like you don't need to be disempowered. You can become conscious and you can change that reality. And if you teach them the right thing, they can free themselves from whatever is that. And there's so many kinds of spirits, and
mm,
sometimes people they get afraid very easily because of superstition or because it's not something they fully understand, and they allow that energy to come in. And if you really understand
mhm.
that, from there's an energy, there's a light, there's something around that can help you and change that reality.
Yeah, these things feed off of fear. I've told people a few times, it's like, hey, I could help you, but you got to stop being afraid of this thing because it
Hmm.
only can hurt you if you let it hook onto you on that kind of like crevice you're making with inside your energetic bodies that's allowing it to attach to you.
Exactly. And these beings are energy. So our
Mhm.
minds are like movie theaters. And if we're afraid, it can see that very easily, and it knows exactly how to manipulate and pull you in. And if you can turn that off and sort of turn on a light bulb, they don't like the light. They start running away. They're like, ooh, need to get out of here. But if I can get you scared enough and you shut that light bulb off, then now I'm in control. And a lot of people are empowering this. They're playing in things. They're doing a lot of stuff.
One of the things that a lot of people are doing is are drugs to kind of shift their consciousness, and they believe that this is like a native thing or native belief for some reason. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Um, we say there's certain plants that are helpers, and
Mhm,
the shaman understood how to use it to open up different planes in the right way. Like they didn't just ingest it to go in and out of different realities, because it can get really, really crazy. And the shamans would use that energy to open up and connect in a way to see into different energy places to help people. But with me, what I found is like the sweat lodge, there's no drugs, the sun dancers, no drugs, the night lodge, Uipi. We don't use drugs in these ceremonies because you don't need that. You can go into these beautiful realities and become conscious of so much more, and you don't need that. And I think the drugs actually bring down people and maybe open them up and get them stuck here, and they don't know how to go up past. And a lot of people are trying to do this because they want to be shamans, or they want to have a story or an experience, and that's where they're playing with things, and they don't fully understand that maybe it can actually be more harmful to them than good.
and traditionally, plant medicine, it was, like a science, correct?
Mhm.
It was very,
Exactly.
very specific, very in-depth, and there was a lot to understand. People would mix these things to have different effects, call on different spirits and for different plants. But all of that seems to be lost in this type of um, I need drugs to shift my consciousness culture.
Yeah. And it's really, really big everywhere. And there's not a lot of teachers out there that are actually helping people understand this. People are going, I met a guy who went to Peru and he did one ayahuasca ceremony with the shaman in Peru. And then he came back to Canada, gave himself a shaman name, bought all of these things. And then he started inviting people over, and he was getting this medicine and he was getting people into these states. And I'm like, are you a trained shaman? And he's like, no, I went down there and I came back and I just now I'm a shaman. And I'm like, that's scary. You can end up hurting people. And it's like these people grow up in these families where they're trained in the tradition as children. They go in and out of these ceremonies and they experience these things and they're guided in the correct way. But people just want that instantaneous, oh, I want to be Jesus, I want to be Buddha, I want to be master, I want to be a shaman, I want to do these things. And I'm like, for what reason?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's really something that's chosen. If you um, listen to anyone who has even innate ability, it's not something that they called on or prayed for or asked for. It's just like, I could just do this. And maybe some of the right people showed up, or even some of them might have never not known any teacher, and they
Hmm.
seem to also naturally have an aversion to trying to avoid all that stuff, or they try to avoid all that stuff, like built in naturally, which I found doing this to be quite interesting. Why do you think that is?
I found with that is like me, I was just born in really lots of violence and chaos. And in all of that, something opened inside me. And when I was born, my mother gave me to my granddad. In my culture is when a person's old, one of the family give their child to the parent, grandparent. So you take care of him up until he died. So my mother, when I was born, and she gave me to him. And like I say, there was a lot of crazy experiences. And I started seeing things, and I would tell him when I would see stuff. And he was aware I was actually seeing because he was able to see that whatever I was doing. And he started trying to train me and all of that. And this is where people get very, very confused. And I've had spirits come in, and like one time I went to a place and it was a bunch of young guys, and they invited me over for the weekend, and we were going to sit around and smoke a few joints and have a beer and just laugh and enjoy it. And we were sitting there, and then all of a sudden the spirit came in and warned me to be very careful because there was somebody there that had hope that maybe they can all gang up on me or do something violent towards me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, whoa, what's happening? And the spirit is like, just listen to me. And I'm like, okay, now I'm really scared. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of young guys here and I can get hurt really badly here. And I'm like, why am I here? And they're like, we want to teach you something. Just listen to us. And I'm like, okay. And I sat there like I didn't know anything. And so I'm in this place, and I don't want to show I'm scared. And it did everything. And then I was out of it and I'm walking down the road and I'm like, whoa, that was really, really crazy what could have went on. And all of a sudden the spirit came in and it just sort of walked me through everything and got me out and kept me safe. And I had many experiences, and I didn't know that through a lot of ceremonies, you can connect with these and you can work with them. I was just living my human life as a young man, going through all kinds of crazy stuff, and they would just pop in, change reality. Then I just go back into my humanness.
Hmm. All right, so let's get back to that. And I want to talk about dreams a little bit. Like within the story I read to everyone. Um, so you dream too, correct?
Hmm. Yeah, all the time.
So I want to ask, when did you first start feeling like your dreams were more than normal dreams?
With me, when I was a young boy, it's like I would dream things and then I would wake up and they would all happen. And I found that very curious. I'm like, how come I know all of this? How come all these things happen? And it's like in my dreams is like I go into the future and I look at everything. I get up and I sort of walk through life. So one day I woke up from a dream and my cousin was there. We were both being raised by our granddad. And so he was there and I was sitting at the table and my granddad was there and I says, You want to know what's going to happen today? And he's like, you don't know what's going to happen today. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to tell you everything. So he's sitting there and my granddad's looking at me and he realizes, but I start telling my cousin everything and he's laughing at me like, you're crazy. And he's just looking at my granddad. You see how crazy is he? He does this stuff. He's really crazy. I'm like, I'm not crazy. And this is what's going to go on throughout the whole day. And he's looking at me and making fun of me. And I'm sitting there. My granddad's like, you stop this. You're going to scare him. He doesn't understand and know what this is. And I'm like, this is what went on in the dream. And this is what we're going to see in reality today. So I head out the door. He heads out the door. And then we end up meeting at my friend's where everything is going to start. And so we're over at my friend's, and then I told him his dad is going to be sitting there. He's going to hit his cup of tea. It's going to fall over and get on his leg. And he's got this cigarette, and he's going to surprise him. And he's going to hit himself with a cigarette. And sure enough, this old guy is sitting there, and his arm hits the tea, and it's hot, lands on his leg. He yells and he hits himself with a cigarette, and it flies. And my cousin's looking at me, is like, you said that was going to happen. And then from there, the whole day played out like this. And when we got home at night, my granddad and my cousin goes to my granddad, this guy's really evil. This is what he made happen all day. And I'm like, I didn't. That's what I was shown.
Why do you think he automatically went into you made it happen?
He was very afraid of me because his third eye wasn't open and he didn't want to believe in these things. And my
Mm-hmm.
granddad would try to teach him and help him to understand this. But he was very, very close to it. And my granddad said I had to be very careful around him because there was times he would get really, really frightened of me. And if I would say things, then it would happen. And my mother the same way. I would tell her certain things would happen to people and things. When it happened, everybody is like, oh, you and the devil are always doing this. And that was from the conditioning of residential school. They were programmed that anybody that sees spirits or sees things going on, it's them. They're the tricksters. They're working with the devil and something that's really, really bad. So, people would be very afraid of you. And I had to learn to stop doing that because a lot of people were very scared.
I think that this is why stories like the Din and Shock stories are so important, so that people understand that this was a thing and it was always a thing before any of this stuff, appeared.
Mhm.
But when I was researching the story, I was a little shocked because it seems to have a lot of cultural significance. But there was not even a single YouTube video about the guy, which was
Mhm.
a little surprising to see that a cultural type of folk hero would not have any mention anywhere but a few books that were recorded from elders. What's the current situation within Gwich'in type of society regarding these stories? How are they seen? And do people take them seriously, or is there any type of revived interest in that with young people?
They're really trying hard to revive the old, but what the residential schools did just about wiped everything out. Part of our tribe is in Alaska, part of it is in Yukon, and the other part is in the Northwest Territories. And it's like Gwich'in are a certain tribe in an area, and we have different names for the different people. And the ones who kept most of the legends and the stories, and that is Alaska, like the American government sort of kept the people living in the way our ancestors did. So they hold on to a lot of the old stuff. In the Yukon, Old Coral, they hold on to some, but in the area I'm in, it's been just about decimated and wiped out. And a lot of kids sort of laugh at that, and it's sort of like fairy tales or fiction. And they don't have that connection because residential school over 150 years or whatever has literally wiped that out by taking kids from their families, sticking them in here, and then Christianizing them, sending them back, and then doing this, generation after generation up to now. So trying to bring it back is like anywhere you go, even in the United States with the Sioux Indian, or you go to the Blackfoot or the Cree or anything, none of the kids are interested in learning about these spiritual beings and the things they taught, and they were real and actually living and practicing this. It's like they've become so westernized, like they're really like a lot of them, they want to be rappers, they want to be gangsters, and you bring up native and they just close their ears and they just don't want any part in it. So it's really, really sad with how that's going on with the native society, and they're working so hard to try to bring it back and revive it. In
Hmm.
my community, they're trying to bring back the language, they're trying to bring back people so they can go back on the land and live with nature and start coming back into this balance with everything, and then learning the stories and all these other things. It's quite a job to try to reverse, because like I say, most people just don't have any interest. They're in this world where they got to make money, they got to pay for this and that. And they're like, I just don't have any time. I just, so they just keep pushing it aside. And there's a few people who are trying to hold on to this in a way and find maybe the right children that will absorb it and then carry it into the future.
All right. And what is your opinion on that?
I think we're going into something very big. I think we're ending a big epoch and we're ready to start something totally brand new. And I think people on the planet are going to realize, and they're going to sort of come together as a human family. And they're going to take all their spiritual stuff and sort of bring it together, and they're going to rebirth it brand new. And
Mm,
we're going to bring in a bigger awareness that we're ready to step into, like from visions and that, like I was shown like the Earth Mother rolling, things changing, stuff going on. And it's like how everybody is going to want to survive. And those ones will come together and they will all use and share their knowledge to move into the future. And I always say we got to be the teachers of the children because they're lost in a world of confusion. And we need to give them that right teachings and understanding so they will get into the future and bring in all these new things. And this is what my
mm.
granddad told me. It's the woman and children that are going to change the world once they wake up and realize and unite and come together.
I hope so. I do hope so. So, back to dreams. I want to ask you: has there ever been any dream where perhaps you didn't follow and you regretted it later?
Um, there are a few in my life where I was told to do certain things, but being a human and being stubborn put me in a really, really bad situation. And it was to teach me that they are trying to help me and they're not deceiving, they're not trying to mislead me or whatever. And because I wouldn't listen, I experienced something that wasn't good, but it was a teaching. And it's like, okay, I want to listen. And so now when they come in, I don't argue. Where when I was younger, I was very argumentative because I wanted to be the human and wanted to prove I'm right, I know everything. And you're in this young person's mind and you're trying to go out and the spirits are coming in and it's just like and I would just not listen at all.
Just
My
so do
granddad
they
would say that.
mm, do they ever have you ever had dreams where like a symbol or some words repeated themselves until you got it?
Oh, I
Or
have that lot still today. Even from when I was a little boy, I'd be shown things like one dream I have is really interesting. It's like
Hmm.
it's like I go back in time and I'm at this native village, and there's all these teepees around, and everybody is sick. And I could hear this baby crying, and it's like I go to these tents and I open the door and people are in there and they're coughing, and I'm like, "Where's the baby? I'm here. I have to help the baby." And the person is coughing is like, "We don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, "I came here. I'm supposed to help." And so I go to all these different teepees, and I get just about to the end of where all these teepees are, and there's this guy standing there and he's challenging me, and he doesn't want me to go and find this baby that I need to help, and he's like trying to prevent me. And still today I have that dream, and I'm like, okay, what is this? Like, I hear the baby crying and nobody in this village wants to help, but somehow I have to get there and this person is preventing me. And I always wake up at that point and I'm like, I want to get past that. I want to get to this point, like whatever this is about the baby and other things, I need to get beyond this person so I can finish the dream.
Now, how do you disseminate helpful information like that, or the spirit's trying to tell you something from just noise?
I always ask them to prove everything. If this is
Hmm.
real, then certain things are going to go on that's proving. So I get familiar with the energy. So when it comes in and they show me something, I'm like, oh, this is that energy that they keep proving. Like whenever I'm in this energy and it comes in, I know this is going to be the reality, so I can trust this. And so I'm like, whenever I get shown things, I'm like, okay, you're going to prove that to me. I'm not going to say it's my imagination, daydreams, or tricks or anything. All I know is when I get in the future, this is what's going to play out. And so I do that. I don't try to disprove or argue. I try to go, okay, I'm a participant in this, and this is going to be manifesting in my reality. So I walk forwards when it happens. I'm like, okay, this is what I was shown, and now this has played out.
Now, how can other people develop this type of dream ability too, where they receive messages easier than I guess they normally do when they have a dream and wake up and forget it right away?
So I think for a lot of people is they think dreaming is just something that's not something they need to pay attention to. So a lot of people, I'll say dream journal. Soon as you get up, try to write down the dream. Maybe do it for a month or two, and then go back to the dream journal and start reading them over to see what came true, what happened, because people have this deja vu, and this
Mhm.
is where the universe uses deja vu to prove that they already showed you this. And you're like,
Mhm.
already did this. The person's dressed this way. We already talked about this. We had this experience. And I'm like, the deja vu is showing you in your dream, you already went into the future, visited, and you're right on your path. That's what the deja vu is. You're manifesting and creating this reality. So when you start dream journaling, you're going to start seeing symbols, you're going to start seeing different things, maybe water in the dream. And you're like, man, I'm seeing water lots. What does that symbolize and mean to me? And then you're going to start analyzing and you're going to start getting the answers to all these different kinds of little things in your dreams that usually we just blow off. And they're brought back into us so we can pay attention and go, wow, this really is guiding and showing me, and I need to bring it through stronger.
What is your biggest Dinny Chuck moment where that parallels the story that we read the most closely?
So a really cool one when I was a little boy and I dreamt that I would one day be in a city. To me as a child, I didn't know what a city was. I grew up in a little tiny community of Eskimos and Indians, and I only knew that. Like I didn't, look into dictionaries or the world. And so in the dream, I was in the city. So when I woke up, I sat with my granddad and I told my granddad, one day way in the future, I'm going to live in the city. And I was, I took papers and I was trying to draw this outline and things I was seeing as this child. And my granddad would over and over try to get me to tell him every so often. He says, now you remember this because one day in the future you're going to see this. And when I was around 26, I was sitting at home one day and I was talking to the universe. And then all of a sudden, I got this memory of this dream. And I'm like, oh, yeah, one day I'm going to be in this city. I'm going to be living out there. So I was working for housing association. That was my holidays. And I thought, well, I'll go and visit my sister. So I flew out to Edmonton and I went and visited her. And my cousin says, let's go and visit a friend. I'm like, where are they? So we drove out of the city and we go to this place where a friend was supposed to be, but she wasn't there. Her sister got sick. She had to leave and go and see her. So we turned around, we're driving back to the city. And as we go over this one hill and we're getting close to the city, there's the outline of the city. I went, oh my God, this is a dream I had when I was a little boy. And then I ended up moving to Edmonton and my whole sort of life moved forwards. And there was a lot of dreams that played out from my childhood that sort of got me to where I am. And there's still others I'm waiting to see manifest and create.
All right, very cool. All right, so is there any type of so you mentioned dream journaling. Is there any other type of way that people can, because this is something that I think people are really interested in, develop this or even learn a little bit about native spirituality? I think people have this idea that it's closed off, that no one wants to teach anyone anything. And I think that comes back to no patience and not really understanding that there's a reason why everything isn't taught at one time.
Mhm.
So they think you're maybe trying to hold them back.
Yeah,
Um,
with the natives, it's like storytelling, and they do it over and over and over until one day you realize they've been giving you the answer all along. Like when I went to the sweat lodges with the elders the first time, and they says we want you to be Muscapios. Muscapios in Cree means servant of God and servant of everybody. And they'd say it's like Jesus. Jesus served everybody. And so they would make me get the fire, do the rocks, do this, do that. And I did it over and over. And I'm like, when are they going to teach me? When are they going to help me understand all of these different things? And one day I stopped and I was like, whoa, I've been doing this all along. And they've been teaching me, but they do it through stories, they do it through different ways. And the prophecy is the natives are supposed to take their knowledge and share it with the world.
mhm,
And there's a lot of different things out there, and there's many, many books. Um, One really good set of books I like is Black Elk Speaks.
mhm,
Another one is by Fool's Crow. He was a medicine man of the Sioux, and he was told by Creator he had to share his stories about ceremonies and things that went on in his life. So he had these books written to give to the world so people can access it. And he says, whatever I can do, if it's inside you and you read this, the spirits will come to you and you'll do the same thing I do. And this is where everything comes from the creator. If you're meant to practice shamanism from China or Japan or anything, when you connect and open that door, the spirits come in and they just start helping you do that. And so with that, a lot of times that's why I say invite those spirits that know the things you need to learn, the things you need to open you up so you become that person that can teach others, because we all become teachers. The more we absorb all this knowledge, the more we're meant to share that with the world. And ask if you're meant to do a sweat lodge or a night lodge or any kind that's going to come into your life. And if you really ask sincerely and you pray, somewhere the universe is going to find that, and somewhere that's going to come into your life, and the person is going to um, bring you into that the ceremony, and the spirits will come in and connect with you.
So I've found um, Maybe recently, maybe a little bit longer than recently. A lot of young people, especially, type of sort of try to bypass these traditions and create their own, and perhaps do this type of kind of weird extraterrestrial ET type of spirit outreach that sort of bypasses the very rich traditions that we have, here on Earth. I
Mhm.
wanted to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I always say the 3D spirituality that we're in right now is people are trying to jump from kindergarten to graduating university, and every culture has a way of teaching to keep you safe.
Mhm.
And there are doors and things that'll open when the time is right. So if you follow it in the correct way, everything will open to you. You will just step into that. You will be that energy when you arrive in that moment. But people are searching you out, me out, and a lot of things, and they just like, oh, I just want to be you. And I'm like, I went through nearly 64 years of my life to become who I am today. And I had to go through all these experiences and I had to search out many, many kinds of teachers and experiences to absorb all of that to be who I am today. And to be a shaman, you have to have the life experience. And once you have that life experience, you step into that moment and that energy is there and you're receptive to it. And it has made you everything. It's like if you want to be the best baker in the world, make the greatest cinnamon buns, then you have to learn how to do it. And it's going to take time until you're able to do that. And I think all these experiences give you the ingredients to become
Mhm.
that, but everybody is fast tracking. And I think because we're in that energy where everything is ready to rebirth into something new, we all feel we need to catch up. And it's like we're trying to do everything so fast, but we're not being patient enough to find those correct things that allows us safely to move in that direction.
Now you have clients and you do some workshops. Can you tell me or tell everyone a little bit about those?
Okay. My business is called Fox Dreamer. I was given that name by an elder. The name is Shoni Homble, which translates into Fox Dreamer, and I name my business that. And basically, I use native knowledge. I use different knowledges I've gained throughout my life to tune into people and see how I can give them um, answers or help them to unlock doors or make them feel safe or um, and while I'm working with them, I tune into their energies to see, over a long distance, what I need to do to help them because basically I could be on the other side of the world and their spirits are saying, do this, and then they will take that energy and remove it. And I say I'm just a conduit. I'm just whatever the spirits need, I'm just in that energy. And so I call it clearing because there's so many different things that we need to release before we can invite the new. And when we
Mhm.
invite the new, then we have spontaneous healing. We have a lot of profound experiences. And through my business, Fox Streamer, you can go on my site and there's a lot of stuff. I teach meditation. I teach a lot of different things.
I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to advancement. People want to attune, they want to upgrade DNA, and they want to add um, all these different things I've heard of through the years. They want to channel, they want to bring something in when the idea is to empty yourself as much as
Mhm.
possible so that your own spirit can work within itself. And I
Exactly.
think I think that's where the big, type of falsehood comes through, right?
Mhm. The
Um,
way I try to get people to understand, it's like you're a computer and you get a virus in it. You need somebody to come in, so you find a medicine man or a shaman to find a virus inside yourself. They're able to tune in and help you to clean out that virus. Once it's gone, you got to put in new hardware. So you
mm,
start installing all this new hardware that changes the person. It removes sickness. It brings new
mhm,
things. It does all kinds of things. But you may need a lot of different shaman and
mm,
specialists to help. But if you hold on to the virus, which you can keep calling back, and this is what people do, they will come to you, you will do this, and man, they're just blown away and they feel so good. A week later, they call all the bad stuff back, and then they call you up and they're like, hey, how come it's all back? How come? And they called it all back because they're still holding on to that virus. And it's like, you can just release it. But then they'll chase another person, another person, another person,
mhm.
and then they just keep getting stuck and they just keep putting in these viruses. And it's like you don't need it anymore.
That's not trained. It comes from,
Mhm.
yeah. That's why I think that's why I've been very hesitant to do any workshops myself. I mean, not that they're not beneficial. It's because it goes into this template where people think that they're just going somewhere else and collecting something new, and like next week they'll go to the next place and gain something, when I don't know, it's it's a complicated type of situation, I think, where people don't really know where to go or what to do to type of advance and learn more, right? And
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why I did this podcast or this show, to teach people that there's a lot of things that are already there, as told long ago, that will point you to the point you in the right direction, and also tells you to avoid what you should avoid.
Hmm. And this is where I think the universe maybe is trying to move you in that direction to teach. And people got to realize you got to start at the beginning. You got to open the door and you got to step in and you got to slowly move forwards in the correct way. As you're doing that, their gifts will activate. And it's like, okay, what is your gift showing you? Can you sit in that and be patient enough to receive the answer? So it transforms you and it transforms somebody else. And can you teach that to somebody else? So there's more of us out there doing these good things. And this is where I'm like, there's not a lot of really good teachers. And I think maybe the universe wants you to start, because I would love to do big retreats where I would teach and take people in and out of really lots of big, profound experiences that will stay with them for the rest of their life. And they can maybe help somebody else experience that too.
For sure. So I want to ask you, what is the significance of the fox in your spiritual system?
In the fox is it's very intelligent. Like in the Arctic where I'm from, in the winters are brutal, and these little tiny foxes, they manage to survive. They're very, very intelligent. And so with them it's like they have an awareness and they have really, really good hearing too and smell.
Mhm.
So they're aware of everything all the time. And so when the old medicine man gave me the name, he was from a different culture, and he wanted to go in the sweat lodge to see if he can get a name to name me. And I'm like, I didn't ask him for that. And he one day asked me, he says, can I go in the sweat lodge and get a name for you? And I'm like, if you want to do that, because I know it's a long time. I know you got to keep going in, you got to keep praying and doing stuff. And then eventually somewhere the spirits come in. So when they came in and told him to name me Shoni Homble, which translates into fox dreamer, and he says, they said it's like you dream things into creation. You help people to bring things into their reality. And this is why they gave you the name. And then he went into like a 3 hour explanation of what the spirits had shown him, and all these different kinds of things was involved in the name. So, and another thing is like even the Mayans, when they looked at the Milky Way, it was way over here thousands of years ago. It was in the image of a fox. And they says
Mm,
when we get to the fox and the fox is right over us, the Milky Way, that's when the Mayan calendar says we step into the new reality. And now when you look at the Milky Way, we are right below it now, and we're ready to move into that bigger reality. So they named the Milky Way way back in time the fox, which was bringing our new reality and our new dreams. And so this is where I chose to name my business that, after that spiritual name I was given by the old medicine man.
all right. So, with that being said, I wanted to do a type of healing for everyone here that we're both going to do for everyone. And how this works is, you do your thing like you do normally. Say if you do one person or a group of people, and I take maybe add to it what needs to be added, and it amplifies it out towards everyone here and from now and into the future. People watching this recording, they will all benefit from it. So I guess without further ado, I mean, we could do that. Are
All
you?
right. So when I do this, I always tell people invite their ancestors, spirits, all the good things, everything that loves them, that knows their future, and the energy will stream through. I use my ego feather, and I use this diffuser. We call it brushing off. So this is
Mm,
like a medicine. It's got sage, it's got lots of different healing medicinal things. So I use that, and that energy comes through to people, and I just focus and I allow the energy to channel and flow. And I'll spin the thing, or I'll flick the feather to sort of cut or disconnect or remove energy, and I'll try to tune into wherever it is and just let the creator come in, because the creator knows everybody out there, even 50 years in the future, who needs to receive the healing and blessings mean you will do today.
all right. So without further ado, shall we begin? Oh, I do want to
Yep.
say one thing. I am going to do the Inari Norito, which
Mm,
is basically the goddess of the foxes.
mm,
So we will be calling on fox spirits to go out and do their blessing. As you said, they're very intelligent and they're quite powerful too. So
mhm.
I hope everyone has a very profound experience. I hope so.
Yeah. And they can close their eyes, meditate,
Flo-
just allow all the beautiful energies to flow.
All right, exactly. So here we go.
All right.
高天張にかむずまります。かむろうき、かむろみのみこともして、すめみおやかむ、いざなぎの神つくしのひむくの立花の大戸の仰ぎがはるに、みそき、払い、たまいし、時にあれませる。払いとの狼たち、もろもろのまがごと積みけりを。払いたまい、清めたまいと申すことのよしを。天つかみ、国つかみ、やお。夜ずの神たちともに引っ越しますと。かしこみかしこみもまおす。高天張にかまずまります。かむろき、かむろみのみこともして、すめみ、おやかむ、いざなぎの神つくしのひむくの立花の大戸の仰ぎがはるに、みそき、払い、たまいし、時にありませる。払いどの狼たち、もろもろの間がごと積みけりを。払いたまえ、清めたまえと申すことのよしを。天つかみ、国つかみ、やお、夜ぞの神たちともに引っ越しますと。 かしこみかしこみも申す。高天張にかむずまります。かむろぎ、かむろみのみこともして、すめみ、おやかむ、いずなぎの神つくしのひまくの立花のおどのあおぎがはるに、みそき、はらい、たまいし、ときに、あれませる。はらいとの狼たち、もろもろのまがごとつみかえりよ。はらいたまい、清めたまえと申すことのよしよ。あまつかみ、きにつかみ、やれずの神たちともにひこしめせと。かしこみかしこみも申す。かけまくむ、かしこき、いなりお神の前に、かしこみかしこみも申さく。明日にゆべにいそしみ、つとむる、家のなりわいを緩むことなく、怒っとることなく、いや進めに進めたまい、家つけに続けたまいて、家角高く吹き起こしめたまい、かきわに時はに命長く、海の子の安続きに至るまで、生かし役割のごとく立ち裂けしめたまえ。家にもに身にも、我が神の我がごとあらしめず、過ちを消すことのあらむおば、かなおび、おなおびに見直し、聞き直しまして、世の守り、日の守りに守り、先はいたまえとかしこみかしこみもマウス。かけまくも賢き稲荷狼の前に賢み賢みもまさく明日にゆべにいそしむつとむる家のなりわいを緩むことなくことたることなくいや進めに進めたまいいや続けに助けたまいて家角高く吹きおこ、刺身、家前、かきわに時はに命長く、海の子の様子好きに至るまで、生かし、役割のごとく、立ち酒はしめ、家前。家にもに身にも、我が神の我がことあらしめず、過ち犯すことのあやらむおば、かなおび、うつおびに、見直し、聞き直しまして、世の守り、日の守りに守り、先はいたまいと、賢き、賢みも、申す。影まくも賢き稲荷狼の前に賢み賢みもさく。明日にゆべにそしび、勤める。家のなりわいを緩むことなく、こたることなく、家進めに進めたまい、家続けに続けたまいて、家角高く吹きおこ、刺身たまい、かきわに時はに命長く、海の子の名を続きに至るまで、生かしゆく前のごとくいたちさ、返しめたまい、家にも身にも、長神のまがことあらしめず、過ち犯すことのあらむおば、かなおび、おなおびに見直し、聞き直しまして、世の守り、日の守りに守り、先はいたまえ、と、賢み、賢みも申す。どうすの神、あまてらします。せめみ神の耳にを伝えて教え導きのたまわけ。人はすなわち神と神とのもとの主たり、何時の紳士の痛ましむることなかれ。 この故に目にもろもろの風情を見て、心にもろもろの風情を見ず、耳にもろもろの風情に触れて、心にもろもろの風情に触れず、心にもろもろの風情を思とも、中心にもろもろの風情を思わず、この時に清く潔きことあり、もろもろのノリは影と形のごとし、清く清ければ汚れることなし、ことを取らばうべからず、皆花よりずの実となる。若みはすなわち六根処女なり。六根処女なるがゆえに、五ぞの真君兄なり。五ぞの真君兄なるが、ゆえに万物の霊と体なり。万物の霊と体なるが、ゆえになすところにごて成就せずということなし、無常霊法、真珠仏教、天上無休、名入賞、神奈川列、払いたまい、清めたまい、守りたまい、先はいたまい、照らしたまい、導きたまい。高間の腹にかむずまります。攻め神たち、いやわらしたも、特殊の水の宝持ちて、余てる国てるひけ雨のほあかり、くしたま、ねぎはやひのみことに、静けたもこと教えてのたまわく、今しこの水の宝持ちて、中津国に天下り、青人草沈め収めよ。青人草及び、よりずの者の病のことあらば、噛む宝を持ちて、見からいた沈めに起きて、見たま沈めの祭りをなして、水の宝を振るべ、その噛むほきの言葉に曰く、木のい木のと、火のい火のと、土のい土のと、かのいかのと、水のい水のと、ひふみよいむなやこと。にのとふるべ、ゆらずいら、かしたてまつることのよしをもちて、たいらきくきこしめせと、命長く、子孫はね、時はかきわに、守りたまい、先はいたまい、かじたてまつり、人生人命心にきかじ。Breathe, get in tune with your body and let the energy work.高めの腹にかむずまります。かむろき、かむろみのみこともして、すめみおゆかむ、いずなぎのかみつくしのひむくのとちぱなのおどのあおぎかはるに、みそき、はらい、たまいし、ときに、あれませる。はらいどのおかみたち、もろもろのまがごとつみけりょう。払いたまい、清めたまいと申すことによしよ。天つ神、急につ神、や、よりずの神たちともに引っ越しますと、かしこみかしこみも申す。高天はりにかむずまります。かむろき、かむろみのみこともして、すめみおゆかむ、いざなぎの神つくしのひまくの立ち花のおどのあぎがはるに、みそぎ、はらい、つまいし、ときに、あれませる。はらいどのお神たち、もろもろのまがごとつみかいりよ。はらいたまい、清めたまいと申すことのよしよ。天つ神、国つ神、や、よりずの神たちともに引っ越しますと、かしこみかしこみも申す。高天はりにかむずまります。かむろき、 Kamuromi no mikoto mo shite, Sumemi oyakama, Izanagi no kamitsukushi no himaka no tochibana no odo no aogigaharu ni misogi harai tamaishi toki ni aremaseru. Haraido no okami tachi, moromoro no maga go totsumi kairi yo. Harai tamai kiyame tamai to maosu koto no yoshi yo. Amatsu kami, kunitsu kami, yao, yoruzu no kami tachi to mo ni hikoshimasu to. Kashikomi, kashikomi, mo maosu. Right, Joe, is there anything you want to add?
I just want to say that welcome in the great mystery. Learn to sit in the light and allow yourself to experience the beauty of the universe and have peace inside yourself, knowing that there's something loving guiding you safely into the future. And if you ask, the right teachers and blessings will come into your life.
Kanagara tamachiyamase. Kanagara tamachiyamase. Kanagara tamachiyamase. All right, and there we have it.
Thank you. I like that some places I was there, just like as you were chanting it, just like my body still started moving with your chant. I found it very interesting.
I found I got like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to sit with it for a little bit. I don't know what that was, but I mean, I definitely felt something. Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
asked you receive a really big blessing for whatever is to come in your future. I saw a light coming in, so whatever is yours, it's yours.
All right, great. That sounds good. So, yeah, how was it for everyone else? Let us know in the chat and the comments. And I want to give you everyone the opportunity to ask Joe some questions. So go for it. Anything else you want to add, Joe, before? No.
Um, no, I just appreciate this and I thank everybody for spending time with us and like I say, just slow down, especially in this year of the horse and with this today is the eclipse and other things going on. Take the time to slow down and just know things are going to come to you and there'll be a lot of transformations and good things.
What would you say for people who feel like there's a lot of turbulence going on right now and we're in the wrong direction as a people and a society?
I think what they're doing is they're tuning into everybody's and they're trying to change everybody around them instead of changing themselves, finding that peace. So when people are around them, they realize they can become peace too. And I think when we get pulled into that soup of the world where there's so much chaos, it just spins everybody. And it's like, oh, I need to come into me. And if I'm peaceful here, I think everything around will start doing the same thing.
Ah, see, that's something that people miss, right? They think that they need to change everybody, but once you
Mhm.
become yourself peaceful, that causes the immediate world around you to become peaceful too. And people miss that so they miss that so much. They think they need to go out and fight, but
Mm.
if they find self-peace, that's infectious.
That is very powerful because everything you do affects your family and everybody. And the more peace you find, the more they start realizing they're peaceful. An old medicine man always told me if you heal one thing, you affect 1,000 people around you. And I'm like, that's very powerful because when I go in and I change things, I know it affects my whole family and it can create fears and different kinds of illusions or paranoias and stuff. And I just got to go into that peace and believe that they can transform and discover and find that joy and peace for themselves.
All right, doesn't I guess we've answered everyone's questions because no one seems to have any. So I guess that's a good time to wrap this up. I'd love to have you again. I think that was a great conversation. Thank you for approaching it with seriousness and care, and yeah, I appreciate it. Um, I enjoyed it very much. And for everyone watching, if you've ever had a dream that maybe carried real weight, like a warning, a message, or a blessing, or something that you could not ignore or turn away from, leave a comment. And we're going to wrap this up, but this will stay here for as long as the internet allows it to. Keep it simple. Let us know what happened and what you did next. Like I say, read all your comments. I try to answer them all. And with that, I will say this is Folklore After Dark. I will see you next time. I thank you so much, Joe. I will
Thank
see
you
you
too.
again.
Thanks. Have a beautiful day.